Well, hey there. Welcome back to our Sky Tonight program. This is Seth Mayo again. I'm the curator of astronomy for the Lowman Planetarium at MOAS. And in this edition, we're covering the dates of June 13th through June 19th. We're going to start by looking at the full moon early this week, which is also a supermoon, and talk about how that works. Then we're going to look in the early morning again, as we've been doing quite a bit lately, and we're going to see Mercury reach its highest position above our eastern sky, joining those other four planets that we've been able to look at. Then we're going to talk about Mars and just update you on the Perseverance rover and where it is in the Jezero crater. So let's get to it. So on Tuesday, June 14th, this is when we have a full moon, when the entire disk of the moon is lit by the sun and it's opposite of the sun in the sky. That's how it has to be for a full moon. And the full moon in June at this time of year is typically called the strawberry moon. And that is all due to the strawberries that are commonly harvested at this time of year in certain parts of the world. So it's strawberry season. And that's been an old name for the moon for quite some time. Sometimes it's called the rose moon or the honeymoon. I think there's a lot of things being harvested and are still growing at this time of the year. So the moon will be quite noticeable in our sky around this time. And if you didn't hear already, the moon will also be considered a supermoon. And you may have heard this term come up from time to time. And a supermoon is when the moon is close to us in its orbit, that's called perigee, and it's full. So that means the moon will be a little bit bigger and a little bit brighter than your average full moon. So sometimes we call this a perigee moon. That's the more scientific term that's been around for a long time. But the supermoon term is generally something you hear in the public and in the media. Now, some folks do kind of ridicule this term and think it's not really that important. And it is true that a supermoon probably doesn't look that much different to you than a normal full moon. If you probably compared this version of the moon next to an average full moon, it might be tough to actually tell the difference. But if you did compare a supermoon when it's closest to Earth and full, and what's called a micromoon when the moon is farthest from Earth, that's called an apogee moon, then the difference is a little more noticeable. A supermoon is about 14% bigger and 30% brighter than a micromoon. This comparison really helps you to understand the difference there. So if you could compare these two types of moons, then yes, you may notice a difference. But on average, the moon is not at apogee when it's full, so most of the time it's going to look a little bigger and brighter than a micro moon. But either way, even though supermoon does not mean the moon will be drastically different, it may be just a little bit bigger and a little bit brighter. And I really don't mind the term supermoon. I think any excuse to talk about a celestial object, even if it's not super different, still is worth it to me. So we have a strawberry supermoon occurring, and it's always great to watch the moon rise out of the east very low so you can get that refraction going on from the atmosphere, turning the moon kind of an orangish reddish color, which is always cool. And the moon will look abnormally large when it's low due to the moon illusion, when objects low in the horizon look artificially bigger to your eyes and to our brains. So it makes the moon look extra special, kind of like in the movies. So anyway, we have a great big and bright strawberry supermoon going on the 14th, and maybe you'll get a chance to check it out. Heading over to that early morning sky again, where we find all of those planets. We've been watching another planet join the four that we've been paying attention to all of this year. Of course, if you've been watching this program or going outside and viewing it for yourself, you may have noticed the four planets of Venus right here, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Saturn's getting a little bit farther away, and you can actually see Saturn much earlier in the evening because of that great distance. But they are still all together in the sky in the early morning before sunrise. But you'll notice here, these labels turn on, Mercury rising as well out of the east and northeast, and Mercury, being the tiniest planet in the solar system and one that's close to the sun, can be tough to see. And it moves very quickly as well, so it doesn't stay in the same place for very long because of its tight and rapid orbit around the sun. But on the morning of Thursday, June 16th, we have Mercury at what's called greatest elongation west, when the planet is farthest west of the sun, which means it's as far out of the glare of the sun in the morning while you're looking towards the east. So that'll provide a great opportunity to see an additional planet with these other four. And these are all of the five visible eye planets that you don't need a telescope to see, because the other two planets in the solar system, Uranus and Neptune, are too far away. You need a telescope to see those. Now, on this date, on the 16th, this is not actually the highest Mercury will get above the horizon. It doesn't always match when Mercury is at greatest elongation, either west or east. This is just when it's farthest from the sun, but it probably provides the best chance of seeing Mercury because it's farther from the sun's glare as it can get right now. But if you want to see a little bit higher in the sky, you probably have to wait until next week around the 20th or the 21st if you want its angular separation above the horizon to kind of reach a maximum. So around this time, from about the 16th to early next week, we have a pretty good view of Mercury joining these other 4 planets, which has been quite nice. As we continue to focus on these early morning planets, I do want to hone in on one that I just want to provide an update on, and that is the planet Mars. And out of all of these planets, Mars will be a little tough to see. It's quite a distance away from us right now, and Mars is a small planet, half the size of Earth. But I want to talk about it because we can still see it, and I want to update you on the Perseverance rover and what it's been doing and where it is now on the surface of this tiny reddish planet in our solar system. So if you do find the planet in the sky, we can kind of think about the missions going on there, and in particular Perseverance, which has been driving on Mars since February of 2021, studying the surface but also looking for past microbial life that may have existed on the planet billions of years ago. It's a very exciting mission, and there's been countless images and even video coming from this mission already that have been amazing. But just to provide an update on where Perseverance is now and how it got to the place it's situated at the moment, there's a couple websites I want to show you that are fun to visit from time to time if you want to keep track of what this rover is doing, and its little buddy in the sky, which is Ingenuity. It's a little drone helicopter that's been flying around as well. So this is a great website, part of NASA's Mars 2020 mission Perseverance rover website. And you can look up where is Perseverance, and this is the page that it pulls up, which is really cool. This is on the current date that I'm filming this here in early June, and it will tell you the day on Mars, at least for the mission, Sol 463 at least at the moment, and the time as well. They use sols, which represents a Martian day, as opposed to an Earth day, because a Martian day is slightly longer than an Earth day. So it's been there for 463 Martian days at the time of this recording. So here's a great map of the Jezero crater where the rover landed back in 2021. And this amazing crater is where water used to flow through, and it left behind this amazing river delta you can see on the map. We can actually make this full screen so we can see a little bit better. And it shows you the path right now of Perseverance, where it is at the moment, and even Ingenuity. We can kind of zoom in here. So we have Perseverance at kind of its second mission phase. And this is when it's driving up the river delta. This is the place that was left behind by the water. It left behind all the silt and debris and mud and all of that kind of stacked up and left sedimentary layers that could preserve organics and possibly the remnants of microbial life on the planet. It's a very exciting place to look for past life, or maybe life that still exists there, who knows. But since early this year, the rover has been driving from its original landing area, and that actually is located in this part of the crater right there. So the rover landed here, drove around a little bit, kind of understanding this area, dropped off the drone helicopter for its first flights that occurred in April of last year, and just drove around this area, kind of determining the crater floor and what it's made of. We actually know that it has a lot of volcanic rock from the early formation of this location on Mars. So they found very old material there. And then since the beginning of 2022, the rover started driving around this sort of sand dune area. Notice the little sand dune ripples here. And that's kind of a treacherous area for the rover to drive through. You don't want to go there. It could get stuck or it could get damaged. And this is called the Setah region here. But while it was driving around this, it took some time to do so. The Ingenuity helicopter over here could actually fly over it and around it. And after its initial demonstration flights, there were 5 of them. It then went into the operations demonstration phase, where it can show how it can help the rover scout new areas and study places the rover can't visit. And it was initially only supposed to do 5 flights, and now has done 28 flights at the time of this recording so far. So it's done really, really well. And then, like I was saying, early this year, the rover did this really long kind of cruise sort of drive, where it just spent a lot of time driving, a lot of times autonomously, around this sand dune area. And eventually it made its way here, just this last month or two, to the area right near the river delta. So I'll show you another website that really gives you a 3D perspective of this area. So here's another great website provided by Rice University. It's called the Spatial Studies Laboratory. And within that, they have what's called the Mars 2020 Mission Tracker. So what's really cool about this website, it shows you the pictures that it's currently taking or has taken recently on the left side during each Martian sol. So the last picture it shows is from Sol 461 here. And you can actually go back in time and look at the past location of the rover and of the drone helicopter Ingenuity. But what's also cool too is this is three-dimensional, so it gives us this really great view of the river delta inside Drezler crater, and the whole crater itself is about 28 miles wide here. We can kind of zoom in, you can see the river delta raised up. So right now we're in what's called the Delta Front campaign, where the rover Perseverance is first driving up the delta. So it's the first time it's had a chance to do this. It took some time for scientists and engineers on the ground to determine which route to take. And now that they're driving up the delta, the rover is going to be instructed to take samples along the way. It's already done so. I think 8 samples have been cored. And these samples will be returned to Earth in future missions years away. But they're very important because those samples may hold the clues for past life on Mars. So Perseverance is currently driving up this river delta, and that's where all that sedimentary layers are. It's a very, very exciting place for geologists and planetary scientists to study, and we'll see what that rover finds and the images it takes along the way. And again, the prime area for this mission is this delta. That's where many of the exciting things could be, but it could be elsewhere. We're not sure, but this is one of the main targets for the Mars 2020 mission for Perseverance. So these websites are great to use, and we'll provide them in the description of this video as well if you want to access them and keep tabs of where the rover is right now. So if you're out there looking at Mars along with those other planets in the morning sky, just think about what we're doing there and how we're getting closer to determining if life can exist elsewhere in the universe. Thanks for tuning in for another edition of our Sky Tonight program. We really appreciate your support. And if you find yourself in Daytona Beach, please stop by the Museum of Arts and Sciences and, of course, the Lohmann Planetarium, where we're running shows every day. If you want any more information about those programs, please check out our websites and check out all our social media channels. We're posting some great content about the museum, our exhibits, and, of course, about science and astronomy and space. So we hope to see you back here again. Take care, and, of course, happy stargazing.